The order we're going to proceed in is first we're going to have a presentation by Dhruv Malhotra, followed by presentation in translation across two fields, insofar as Frederique Chapuis is going to present the work of Oumar Ly, but that will be translated by Alexandra Prague, so I'm intrigued by that. And then the third will be a presentation by Suzanne Opton on her work. And then we'll be having a panel discussion where, as I said, I want some intriguing and vital questions from you. So, Dhruv, would you like to come?
Hello, good afternoon. I'd like to start by saying a very heartfelt thank you to Martin. Martin, I don't know if you're here. It's an honor to be here. So about me, I actually graduated in economics in 2006. I got a BA with majoring in economics. And right about the time I got really interested in photography because I made some small 8x10 prints and I realized economics is not something I can handle for too long. So I started photographing. And I shifted to film and to a medium format camera in 2007. Before that I was shooting digital, so I've actually done the transition the other way around. And I think the shift to film really helped me because it's a more rigorous process, it's a bigger negative, and it's a more interesting way of working. So this is a project, what I'm going to show you now is a project called Sleepers. It's what the work of mine that's being exhibited at the Bear now. So I really like photographing at night. Most of my work is basically at night. And what I really like about the night, and photographing the night in particular, is there's always this sense of silence around. There's no disturbance, there's very few people, there's no cars, or very few cars. And I also like that it's a slow process. You have to have a tripod, you have to put your camera on it, you have to have a lot of patience to make your images. Could we have those lights off, please? That'd be enough. Thank you. And the other thing I like about the night is that it's really hard to find images because a lot of the times you can't see what's happening. Focusing is a major nightmare most of the times. And it's a combination of all these things which really attracts me to the night, and also the fact that it looks very, very different from the day. So this project, Sleepers, it sort of began for me from another project which was off the city I used to live in about urban space in particular. And I would walk the nights from midnight to 5 in the morning, and I would always find people sleeping on the roads, on top of houses, under flyovers, everywhere. And I started making images of them, and for me it's really important that these images have a lot of the space that the sleepers inhabit, because it's never just about the sleeper, it's also about the space around them. At the time when I started making these pictures, which was in 2007, the sleeping form sort of also acted as a metaphor for me, for my own life, which I felt that I was largely slumbering through life. And I wasn't seeing as much, I wasn't doing as much, and it was hard to be productive. And somehow the act of photographing and the act of photographing sleepers helped me out of that. What I like to do with this project is I like to have the human figure inhabiting a very highly human-built environment, which is also very often in India a very transient environment because it's in the process of being constructed, there's lots of construction happening. And I feel that the human figure anchors the environment, and it gives, and the environment and the space around the human figure gives the figure context. Usually in the West, when you see somebody sleeping on the streets, you see somebody sleeping in the open, they're perceived as homeless. But in India, there's a cultural tradition of sleeping out in the open. I think that's really awesome because I always felt that when you have the confidence and the faith, rather, to sleep under open skies, there's something very freeing about that. You're also a lot more vulnerable because you're literally sleeping on the streets. So as you can see, people sleep outside everywhere in India, and a lot of these people are not really homeless. They have homes, but they're taking little sojourns on their journeys, in their ways. A lot of them are migrant workers, a lot of them are workers who sort of need mobility, a lot of them are guards. So they prefer to sleep outside for various reasons. It's also usually more windy, less hot, and you end up saving on rent money. Part of my process is what I like to do with the night. I will show you the project which sort of stemmed this project for me right after I finished with these images. what I like to do with the night is I like to use really long exposures, and I like to get the night to reveal its secrets, to literally open the darkness up, if you will. I largely photograph in cities, and most of my exposures go from anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour and a half. And very often the sleepers move, sometimes they wake up, it changes the image drastically. But the times when they do stay still, they get this almost sculptural quality because they're inhabiting the space and they're almost one with it. This image, in fact, is, for those of you familiar with Delhi, is of the AIMS, is near the AIMS medical flyover. And you see those little alien-looking structures that was part of a public art project. So this, for me, is one of my more, this is one of the images I love the most because there's a double sculptural aspect to it. There's actual sculpture and then there's people sleeping in the middle of it. This is the first project I did. It's called Noida Soliloquy because at the time I was living in a suburb of Delhi called Noida. And although it is off Noida, it's about urban space in general. I like to find these half-seen, easily overlooked spaces and make photographs of them. There's actually a sleeper in this in the far left, and a dog. As I was saying earlier, I largely photograph at night, and most of my work is very long exposures, so it ends up looking almost daylight, which is an effect I strive for. And one of the things which I like about photographing at night is it's not easy of access. You have to spend a lot longer to do the same thing that you could do in less than an instant in the day. And that brings a rigor to photographing at night, which I really appreciate. Thank you.
Bonjour, je vais me présenter, je suis Frederique Chapuis, journaliste et commissaire d'exposition, et je représente le photographe sénégalais Oumar Ly qui n'a pas pu venir aujourd'hui.
Hello everyone, my name is Frederique. I'm a journalist and I'm also a creator. I represented Oumar Ly who can't be present today.
Donc je voulais tout d'abord remercier la Biennale parce qu'ils ont beaucoup travaillé à faire en sorte que le photographe soit présent et malheureusement il n'a pas eu son visa. Il n'a donc pas pu être avec nous aujourd'hui pour des raisons très africaines. Il n'a pas réussi à avoir son visa parce qu'il y avait une coupure d'électricité qui a duré plusieurs jours et donc aujourd'hui il ne peut pas être parmi nous. Donc je tenais à remercier la Biennale pour l'énergie qu'elle avait dépensée pour essayer de faire venir ici. Donc je vais essayer de faire de mon mieux pour parler de son travail.
First, I'd like to thank the Brighton Biennale for making the best efforts to try and get Oumar Ly here. Unfortunately, for very typically African reasons, he wasn't able to come. There was electricity cuts and the computer stopped working. So thank you, Annie, for the efforts you made, and she's hopefully going to do the best she can to represent him today.
Ma spécialité est donc la photographie et notamment la photographie africaine. J'ai rencontré Oumar Ly en allant aux rencontres de Bamako pour lesquelles j'ai travaillé depuis de nombreuses années. Et on m'a parlé un jour de ce monsieur qui vit au fond du Sénégal, très très loin de la capitale.
I met Oumar Ly, I heard about him at the Bamako exposition, and I was told about this old artist who lived very deep in the Senegal countryside.
Un jour donc on m'a dit tiens, il y a un vieux photographe qui habite là-bas à Podor. Podor, c'est une région qui est tout au nord du Sénégal, au bord du fleuve, du même nom, du fleuve Sénégal. En face de l'autre rive du fleuve, c'est la Mauritanie. Donc il est là, dans cette ville. Il faut qu'on monte les images, pardon.
Just going to get the image up of it.
Alors, comment on fait là? Voilà. Donc voilà. Donc j'ai préparé très vite quelques images pour vous montrer, Monsieur Ly n'étant pas là, et c'est un formidable conteur, donc je vais essayer de faire en sorte de dire les choses.
Ouais. So Oumar is a Senegalese photographer from a small town called Podor, which is just on the Senegalese river, and it's bordering Mauritania. So she found out about him when she was in Bamako, and she took a taxi from Saint-Louis to get there, and this is what she discovered, this little village called Podor.
Voilà. Donc Oumar Ly vit. Quand j'ai appris que ce photographe existait, je me suis rendue à Podor, qui est un ancien comptoir de commerce français.
The small town I found there, an old commercial centre for rubber and amber, was charming. Since their independence in 1960, not much has changed here. There is only a handful of cars, and the majority of people go around on horse and carriage.
C'est une ville qui a eu son heure de gloire et qui désormais est un peu abandonnée par le gouvernement. Il fait très très chaud, on dit que là-bas même les oiseaux tombent des arbres l'hiver de chaleur. Et il y a très très peu de voitures, une poignée de voitures, et sinon on se déplace essentiellement avec les charrettes à chevaux. Tout ça pour vous dire que c'était vraiment une gageure de le faire venir jusqu'ici. Il n'a jamais quitté son pays, sauf en mai je suis emmenée à Lyon, mais c'était vraiment une gageure de le faire venir là.
This region has really been forgotten by the Senegalese government. It's an extremely beautiful area, but also extremely hot. People say that birds fall from trees there, dead of heat exhaustion. The photographer himself has never actually really left Senegal, so it was a good effort to try and get him here, but obviously extremely difficult to achieve.
Donc, Oumar Ly est né en 1943 à Podor. Il n'a jamais été à l'école. La seule école qu'il ait faite, c'est l'école coranique. Donc il apprenait le Coran enfant.
Oumar Ly was born in 1943. He didn't really go to school. The school he went to was an Islamic one that his father was the headmaster of.
Son père était marabout, et donc il enseignait le Coran. Et Oumar a été à l'école coranique jusqu'à l'âge de 13 ans.
Oumar went to the Islamic school at the age of 13.
Et donc on a proposé un jour à son père qui lui lisait l'arabe parfaitement et le français et savait compter. On lui a proposé de prendre un commerce, un des comptoirs sur le bord du fleuve. Donc il a pris ce comptoir. Oumar Ly est resté à l'école coranique.
Thanks to his ability to speak both French, Arabic, to read and count, his father was offered a job as a grocer in a big store. So he took up that job and was no longer a teacher or head of this Islamic school, though his son, Oumar, continued his education there.
Et à 13 ans, son grand frère est venu le chercher en lui disant « Maintenant, tu vas venir m'aider au potager ». Donc la famille cultivait des légumes et des fruits. Et donc le grand frère est venu chercher Oumar à l'école coranique en lui disant « Désormais, ça y est, tu viens avec moi et tu vas travailler ». Il est lâche de travailler.
When he got to the age of 13, his older brother came to get him and said, listen, that's it, you've had your education, now you're going to work for the family. So he took him to their garden patch, and from then on he was responsible for delivering vegetables, fruit and stuff like that around the village and around the area.
Et toutes les semaines, donc Oumar Ly allait livrer des légumes au fort de Podor. Le fort, c'est le fort militaire français. Et un jour, il arrive là et c'est la fête au fort. Il y a une réunion de famille et il y a un militaire français qui a un appareil photo.
One of his clients was the French military, the French force, and on one Saturday when he was delivering vegetables there was a big party on.
Et donc Oumar Ly regarde la scène et le militaire le photographie le jeune garçon avec son panier de légumes. Et puis il s'en va et quelques jours après, quand il revient à nouveau avec d'autres légumes, on lui donne le tirage, on lui rend le tirage.
As Oumar Ly was standing there just staring at this party with his vegetable basket in one hand, one of the soldiers took out a camera and took a shot of him. A few days later, when Oumar Ly went back to the fort, he gave him this picture, and at the time Oumar Ly was 17, this was the very first photo that he saw.